Hello again, everyone. Thank you for all the kind welcome back comments on my last video. Very much appreciated. I didn't know I had so many white nationalist and anti-feminist fans. I thought you'd be more liberal, but that's good. I feel energized now to continue making more political videos. And so this one is a review of the latest Star Wars film called Rogue One, which has just opened. I haven't seen it, so you don't need to worry about spoilers. But there's a lot to talk about nonetheless, so this might get quite long. You might want to make a cup of tea or something before we start. Unless, if you're a genuinely committed white nationalist, then tea will be too foreign for you, so have some mead, I suppose. Right, so Star Wars Rogue One is, as you're probably already aware, the latest piece of multicultural globalist propaganda designed to brainwash your children into believing that interracial relationships are okay and that women can be in management positions. And when I say globalist, I mean Jewish, obviously. That's called a dog whistle, that term, globalist. You use it because in some parts of society you still can't be openly anti-Semitic without getting told off, but you might need to be anti-Semitic to make your point. So what can you do? You have to substitute another term so that only fellow anti-Semites will know what you're talking about. It's very clever. So yeah, yet another calculated move by the globalists to ruin childhoods by perverting a much-loved science fiction franchise. We keep seeing this. It's part of the Hollywood agenda. Goes on and on. They ruined Westworld recently. That was a classic movie about a man running away from a robot, and they've turned it into a needlessly complex examination of consciousness and free will that could only possibly appeal to people who like thinking. In the case of the new Star Wars, the liberal Hollywood agenda is very clear. The writers have explicitly stated that the Empire in the Star Wars is a white supremacist regime, and yet the Empire is very definitely shown to be the baddies. So, horrendous bias right there. And you might say, well, that's not new. The Empire was always the baddies. And ever since the fourth film in 1977, they have kind of looked like Nazis and used Nazi terminology. But what you're forgetting is that in 1977, Nazis were still objectively bad. We hadn't reached our current stage of enlightenment, wherein nowadays being a Nazi is just another legitimate choice of identity, like being gay or being from Pakistan, for example. So really, the social justice warriors should extend to Nazis the same tolerance and understanding that they lavish upon every other marginalised group, but they don't. Which is extremely unfair, and it makes me very upset. If anything, Nazis and fellow white nationalists are deserving of even more respect than any other identity group, because we manage to be both a tiny minority of harmless, irrelevant extremists, and also the silent majority of right-thinking citizens constantly in fear that we'll lose our jobs because of the things we believe. And that is quite a feat to pull off. You have to admire the ability to be both of those things at once, even if you don't agree that miscegenation should be illegal. And this anti-white prejudice runs deeply through the entirety of this new Star Wars film, I imagine. Again, haven't seen it, not going to. But just by looking at the trailer, there's at least 5 actors in this film who would not have been welcome within the borders of the Third Reich. And yet, here they are, presented as heroes for children to look up to and identify with, as though that's all completely fine. It's very disturbing. But enough about race. The new Star Wars wouldn't be a Hollywood movie unless it was also anti-men. And so again, all through the trailer, we see women speaking, women in positions of power, women telling men what to do. It's unrealistic. That's the worst part of it. But also, it's quite good that they've done this, because actually it shows what total hypocrites the feminists and the SJWs are. Because feminists always like to say that throughout history, women have been oppressed by men, and they claim that it's only recently that women have had any kind of freedom or political power. And yet, here we are, a long time ago, remember? And they've shown that women were pretty much in charge. So, which is it, feminists? Get your story straight, or how are we ever going to take you seriously? I'm quite pleased with myself for spotting that, I have to admit. It's that kind of shrewd analysis, I hope, that's going to get me accepted into the inner circle of the YouTube anti-feminist community. My big ambition right now is to have my face added to their official banner alongside the other luminaries. What else is wrong with Star Wars? Well, just the sheer number of lines of dialogue that seem to have been given to women when they could just as easily have been spoken by men is mind-boggling. Obviously, the SJWs in charge of Disney made a politically motivated decision to effectively silence the male actors. And in case you think this sounds paranoid or histrionic, there are actually all kinds of anti-male and generally left-wing messages hidden in plain sight in the visuals of the movie. These are just a few that I've spotted so far. So here, you see, there are some stormtroopers with a kind of space tank in a town. It looks normal, but if you zoom into the background, what's this? Hashtag men are rubbish, graffitied onto the wall. I think it's supposed to be subliminal, but you can see it right there. And the other examples are worse. In this scene, where the rebels are having a meeting, this guy is wearing a Che Guevara t-shirt, which, quite apart from the outrageous political bias, is completely ahistorical. And so you think that's bad, but then when they introduce the chief baddie, I mean, that is preposterous. How can anyone enjoy this movie when they're shoving politics into your face in every frame? I will definitely not be seeing it at the cinema.